Another article I looked into is again from that same journal, Theory and Practice. And the title of this article is Culturally Responsive Classroom Management, Awareness into Action. Again, the journal was published in 2003, and the article is by three people, Carol Weinstein, Mary Curran, and Saundra Tomlinson-Clarke, and I apologize if I mispronounce those names. And this article dove more into setting up your classroom in a culturally responsive way. So the article first talked about how we as teachers need to reflect on ourselves before we can implement changes into the classroom. So what are our cultural biases? Have I been treating my students differently based on the way they act and respond to me? Am I making sure I'm including multiple strategies as I teach so that I'm reaching all the different learners? If we first reflect on ourselves, then we're able to apply what we've noticed about ourselves to making those changes or keeping things the same in the classroom. You might already be doing things appropriately or how you like. And then it also talked about applying yourself and learning some of the cultural behaviors, and then maybe even some phrases that you can use so students feel more connected in the classroom and home life. I know that'll create more work, but I think it'll help your students all feel more comfortable in your classroom and again build that positive relationship and that sense of community. A really cool idea that was in the article talked about a map of the world. So not all teachers, but some teachers have maps in their room. So if you do a article or if you do a study on heritage, you can put stars on the map where all the children are from or where their ancestors came from. Or if you have students that came from other countries or even states, putting that on the map shows that you care about their background and that their background is an important part of them. So I thought the map was a really cool idea. Another idea the article talked about is on the first day of school or even keeping it up for the first week, having a sign or banner to welcome the students and their families, depending on how your school works. Not only having that sign in English, but having it in different languages. Even a simple like welcome, but then having the poster say welcome in all the different languages. That could be super beneficial and could start building that positive relationship, like I've said again. And if you watch the introductory video to this channel, I talked about how I'll be talking about diverse books and how to make your classroom library represent more students. Diverse books in the library just to look at or even for you to do read-alouds are very beneficial because students can then see themselves in a new light, can see themselves in a children's book that they may not have seen at home. So having a diverse library is a great way to incorporate inclusion and diversity in your classroom. Another fun thing I read about in the article was a kindness box. So having the students, if they do some an action of kindness, or if they say something that's kind, or they want to say something that's kind, they can put it in this kindness box. And you as a teacher can decide whether you want the kindness actions or whatever to add up to 5 extra minutes of recess or 5 minutes of silent reading time, a prize for your classroom. Or it can just be to show that we all care about each other and this is a way to build our community. It's become more popular within the few past years, but instead of having desks individually in a row, a lot of classrooms are putting their desks into pods or clusters. And this is beneficial because, again, with ELL students or shy students, a smaller group can give them people that they can interact with and not have to speak a whole class if they're not comfortable with that. That being said, I think it's important for you to move students around so that they are able to interact at one point with everybody in the class. I think it's just important to have those smaller groups, again, because if you have a shy student or someone who feels more comfortable working in small groups, those pods are beneficial, and it can also promote sharing materials within the classroom. Another important thing as teachers is to be clear with our expectations. So, like I said, like I've talked about in previous videos, you can be assertive, and you need to make sure that you're clear with what you expect. And I think a great way to do that is to have your students come up with the classroom rules with you so that they understand every word or every part of each rule. And then just expectations with assignments, just make sure you're very clear, and if you're at a point where you give out rubrics, then make sure your rubric is very clear. And then I think I talked about this in a previous video as well. Behavior can be linked with culture, so make sure you understand cultural influences on how a student may be responding or reacting to what you're asking them to do. And then a big part of starting the year is that greeting. So I talked about a sign or banner. There has been a video of a teacher that has an individual handshake with each student as they come in. You don't have to do a handshake, but a hug or a high five or a handshake, showing the students that you are treating them each as individuals, and they'll each be part of the community, and you want to see each of them every day. That's very important to help build that positive community. And then the last thing that I thought was very important is the relationship we have with families. So sometimes there could be a language barrier with families, but it's still important that you show them, I want you to come to parent-teacher conferences. I want to have a conversation with you. I care about what you have to say. And once you build that positive relationship, you can talk about home life and culture if you're comfortable with that, and you can see how maybe the home life influences the child at school, or how you can incorporate parts of the home life to help the student adjust in school. Again, talking to families can be very beneficial. This article had a lot in it, and I would totally advise you to read it. I think it has a lot of beneficial information in it, and again, I have the bibliography below, so you can look up the title of the article, and I think you should definitely read it because it's got a lot of great ideas in there.